She said it was just drinks. 3 harmless hours after work to unwind with colleagues. The kind of thing couples do and never mention twice. Her tone was breezy practice, the kind of casualness that smells faintly of rehearsal. "I'll be home by 10, she said, sliding a lipstick into her bag with the careless grace of someone who wanted to look good for a room of friends and never thought to account for strangers. I believed her the way you believe in streetlights at night, because it's easier to trust a glow than to stand in the dark. Dinner went cold between 2 plates balanced in the sink and the television murmuring a show neither of us actually watched. 10 came and went. 11 brushed the edge of midnight. I told myself to sleep and wake up ordinary, to let the morning sort its own truths. But morning is a clever thief who steals certainty and leaves questions like coins on the kitchen table. My phone woke me with a ping, an old friend's name, and an image attachment that arrived with no preface. The photo was small and grainy, the kind of candid shot meant to be private, until someone decided it should not be. At first it was just bodies in the low light of a bar. Backs turned, a bottle glinting, the careless pose of people unpracticed at being watched. Then I saw her, leaning toward someone whose hand curled possessively around her waist, body bent in a private conversation I had not been invited to. Her laugh was captured in the tilt of her head. His face was too close. There were more pictures, each one a little louder than the last. A shimmer of fingers on a thigh, the angle of a face so intimate it felt like stealing. They had been taken by a camera that loved the shadows. My chest closed like a fist. You think you know the outline of a life until evidence redraws the map. I wanted to deny it, to convince myself of misinterpretation, of angles and drunken misreadings. But photographs are stubborn things. They freeze what was warm and living and make it cold and undeniable. I called her out of rhythm. My voice too steady, the way you hear people on stage for 10 calm, so their hands can be steady. "Where did you get those?" I asked. My words felt childish when what I wanted was permission to break something. She swallowed, that small sound like a stone. At first she offered the usual litany: lost phone, prank, mislabeled files. But the images were a chorus that would not be dismissed by melody. She moved through her explanations like a woman in a costume, changing garments quickly so the seams wouldn't show. "It wasn't what it looked like," she said finally, voice thin as crepe paper. "We were flirting. It was stupid." It stopped. Her attempt at minimization felt less like a bomb and more like salt. The more I asked, the more the photograph's details unfurled. The bar's neon sign, the lipstick smudge on a plastic cup, the bracelet she always wore when she wanted to feel desirable. Someone had been careful enough to capture moments, but not careful enough to hide them. I asked for names, for times. She offered them as someone from the office, and repeated that word as if saying it enough would make it small. My hands found a stack of printed photos I'd insisted she emailed to me. Proof that I wasn't hallucinating the shapes in the screen light, and thumbed them like a man flipping through the last pages of a book he'd hoped would have a kinder ending. There was an insistence in me then that wanted drama, confrontation scripted in the language of films. Smashed dishes, roaring accusations, a scene that would prove the pain was real. Life, predictably, avoided the camera's directions. I chose something quieter. I printed the photos, careful and precise, and laid them on the kitchen table in the exact order they had arrived. Breakfast smelled faintly of burnt toast and something else, an undercurrent of things unsaid. She came home that afternoon with the same reluctance someone shows when returning a borrowed book you've hidden a torn page in. Her face held the practiced confusion of someone who'd been rehearsing a reaction in the wings. "We need to talk," I said, and for once I never asked a question that always felt too big for mouths. "Were you with him?" The explanation came out like a tide, fast, messy, leaving shells of excuses on the floor. It meant nothing. It happened once. "I'm sorry." The word sorry was light. It lacked the gravity the photographs demanded. I set the images before her like a jury on a bench. She looked at each one, fingers tracing the ghost of her own silhouette, and I watched the color of her face change with each frame, the slow burn from pale to the heat of being caught. There were gestures she made that I recognized not as contrition but as calculation, smoothing a hem, choosing a tone, practicing humility. It cut me in a way that was intelligent and surgical. I could have asked for confessions I didn't need, for narrations of feelings I never wanted to hear. Instead, I asked for honesty in the currency that mattered. Actions. I told her I'd packed a bag and left it ready by the door. I said I would not throw her out, but that I needed space to think about what the photos had taught me. Betrayal, I realized, is less a single act than a series of small truths arranged in ways that make a life unrecognizable. She begged. She promised. She constructed a future that included the phrase, "We'll work on it." Words are easy to shape. Pictures are not. I told her to take time and to go stay with a friend if she needed to breathe. Perhaps I wanted exile for us both, a clean edge where decisions could be sharpened. She left after an hour, the door closing with a softness that felt like a punctuation mark. Alone, I spread the photos on the living room floor and let them dry in the sunlight, absurdly domestic, like a ritual of evidence. There was a peculiar intimacy in the act, the way light softened the pixels and changed the shadows. It was then I noticed the background of the photos, a group shot with colleagues where she stood at the edge, her eyes not at the camera, a later frame with only two people leaning into each other like magnets. The pattern was not explosive but cumulative. A dozen stray affairs in the margins of ordinary life. I didn't want revenge. I wanted to know whether continuity existed. The images had already answered. They told me she had been choosing someone else in the small ways people choose. Late laughs, spare seconds, hands at reach before mine. When she returned after 2 days, words practiced, apologies rehearsed, she handed me a single photograph printed on glossy paper. The same bar scene but cropped differently, as if by changing the frame she could change the meaning. I took it, folded it once, and slipped it into the envelope that already had a plane ticket inside, a ticket that said I'd leave for a week to breathe, to decide whether forgiveness was a bridge I could cross without my knees shaking. She watched me with eyes that pleaded for mercy and offered reasons why love should be enough. The photos remain on the kitchen table, like small weather reports predicting storms. I left with the picture folding and unfolding in the drawer of my suitcase, a physical thing that would not let me forget the way truth had arrived, uninvited, in pixels and angles. The week away did not give me cinematic closure. It gave me quiet. When I came back,